What's in a fight? When I watch a good fight scene in a movie, or when I fight a good battle in a video game, one of the things that my mind always goes to is, does this feel right? What makes this particular fight bad or good? Because I'm sure you've seen those kinds of fights before, the bombastic ones with lots of flash and pizzazz, but it doesn't seem to be satisfying enough. And then there are the kinds of fights that look and feel amazing. The kind of fights that are choreographed well or sequenced together logically enough to make the duel intense and gripping. Those kinds of battles, what exactly makes them good? The answer? Weight. And it serves two essential functions in making a good fight scene. So let's start off with the first point: physical weight. Physical weight plays a huge role in creating a dynamic fight. How weighty a character moves, strikes, or begins an attack makes for an interesting battle. When you look at games like Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, or Nioh, heavier characters who are stronger yet more sluggish can deliver more powerful blows, but they have to overcome the limitation of their speed. And vice versa. Quicker characters who are more speedy can create swifter strikes and faster combos, but are frail and cannot afford to take heavy damage. Characters like Genji or Tracer in Overwatch, Cammy or Chun-Li in Street Fighter, these characters are fun to watch in a fight. But these kinds of stipulations are even more perplexing to play as in video games. Take a game like Nioh, for example. Depending on how you need to fight a certain enemy, you may need to switch between stances. High stance allows you to perform slower but more devastating blows. Low stance is needed if you need to dodge quicker and strike faster, and mid stance for a balance between the two. And depending on what the situation calls for and what weapons you have equipped, it's up to you to think on your feet in the middle of battle and decide what to do in order to come out with the best results. Dark Souls games has the same kind of reward as well when deciding what kind of armor and weaponry to switch between to in order to help you overcome certain obstacles and bosses. You can opt for heavier armor and shields, but this will most likely stop you from rolling and evading enemy attacks. In Overwatch, say you want to be an attacker. Will you choose Tracer, who can die in one headshot but is speedy and hard to hit? Or will you pick someone more like McCree, who has less mobility yet can unleash a ton of firepower? Or will you pick Soldier for a more balanced approach? These kinds of games present a challenge with their weight, and when you, the player, have to overcome them, you feel all the more rewarded for your thinking and playstyle when you emerge victorious in a fight. Not only this, but putting in physical weight dynamics in a game makes it feel all the more realistic and just makes the fight all the more believable. Now, let's take a look at some examples with badly proportioned weight. Games like Sunset Overdrive, Final Fantasy 15, and even Demon Souls to a small degree all have bad physical weight. Demon Souls takes into account physical weight in terms of rolling and how much a character winds up before an attack, but everything in between is usually pretty floaty, lightweight, and almost ragdoll-like. It lacks a kind of gravity that later installments like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 seem to carry, which really sell the believability of the weight. Sunset Overdrive is pure chaos and fun, sure, but the bouncing around, the flying, the ziplining, it all serves to create a fun experience. But this is a scenario where it seems to be more about style over substance. Because of this, the combat in this game is mostly shallow and lacks any sort of depth. And even worse, Final Fantasy 15. Noctis does seem to have realism in weight when delivering basic attacks, but for the most part, there are tons of scenes which break any and all rules of weight. Like this fight between Noctis and Aranea. Sure, it's fun to watch, it's flashy, but none of it really makes sense, especially from a player's perspective. During this battle, I felt really confused as to what was happening, or what I was doing wrong or right in this fight. Sometimes it felt as if my hits weren't connecting, like I wasn't getting any sort of confirmation at all of the damage being done or of the damage being done to me. And why is that? It's because since there is no physical toll being exerted with each swing, each block, and each dodge, there is almost no real impact when we feel one of the characters finally landing a good strike, or if one of them narrowly escapes an assault, or if the other just barely blocks and fends off a counterattack. By adding weight to all of these little things, the fight becomes all the more stronger and devastating to watch. These are great examples of weight being disregarded in a fight. Now, let's jump on to the second point, emotional weight. Emotional weight is the state of the characters and the story, and it sometimes is reflected in the gameplay, and it must be combined with physical weight in order to achieve any truly great combat sequence. If you take a look at the final boss battle in Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, the duel between Drake and Rafe, there's a great combination of both physical and emotional weight. The physical weight coming from the pressure and force of the swords clashing, the heavy breathing of the characters, and how they carry themselves through the exhaustion, how each attack is winded up and recoiled. This weight is held hand in hand with the emotional weight, the anger seething from Rafe, and the emotional adrenaline from Drake, accented by the fire starting to burn around them and consume all. Or, take a look at Old Snake vs Liquid Ocelot in Metal Gear Solid 4. Two old rivals finally meet at the top of a giant doomsday machine, being at the center of the conflict, nowhere to go as the ocean surrounds them. It is here that the two fighters go against one another with perfectly balanced weight between each of their punches, kicks, and grapples. This is important because we feel for the characters, we empathize with them, and if we feel this alongside the physical strength and gravity of the action, it all becomes more visceral. If you take this concept of the two functions being married together nicely, and if you take a look again at the Final Fantasy XV example I mentioned earlier, this creates a bad fight. Why? Because not only is there an absence of consistent, real physical weight, but there is also a lack of emotional drama put in play. Who is this person? Why is she attacking us? Is she an ally or a foe? Why did this fight even occur in the first place?
We should play again sometime, pretty boy.
When you consider all of the points made here and the examples given, you can begin to see just why and how weight serves its importance in a fight. It's what separates a fun-to-watch battle and a truly epic and memorable fight. Having to learn how to control the weight of a character in battle changes the flow of the combat, and successfully adapting to the weight is a rewarding experience in a video game. It also makes the conflict between a hero and its adversary all the more interesting and believable. Combining that with emotional weight, the drama of it all, makes the fights even better by making us, the player, empathize with the feelings and the emotions of the heroes and villains. So next time you watch a fight, or fight against a boss or intimidating foe, ask yourself, why is this fight good? Or why is it bad?